From Trilogy, played Lita Ader with Gordan Murrey. Yes. This gentleman is a familiar face. From Jimmy and also the Evil Leaper episodes, please welcome John D'Aquino. Hold on a second. Next up, another familiar face, also from Jimmy and the Evil Leaper episodes and Mirror Image, Mr. Brad Silverman. Next we have from Miss Deep South, played Clint Beaumont, Mr. David Brooks. Another familiar face, we all know him best as Captain Galaxy, Mr. Richard Kerr. Okay.
See you in the future.
Open for questions.
Hi, Rosie.
Hey, Frank, how you doing?
Hey, you. How you doing? Hey, Drew! Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Burbank. Frightening, isn't it?
If you have questions, please raise your hand so the microphones can get to you.
Well, I have a question. How many of you are not from California?
Is there anybody here from the good part of the country, Boston? You Bostonians or people from Massachusetts? Let's hear it. Right. Patriot fan, Red Sox fan, Celtics, 17 and a half games up. I mean, you don't have any questions? We're just going to trivia.
We have a question back here. Back in the back here.
Well, we can't see you, so just
Yeah, we're probably going to
direct your question to whomever you would like to ask.
Yes. What was it like working with Scott and Dean on Joyner?
Who's that directed to?
Why don't you feel that?
Mr. Heard.
Scott who? One of the things that came to me when we were working was the enormous amount of patience the man had. Because he was very nice during the whole long shoot that we had because it was so technical and tedious in parts because, as you well know, this is like a real education, what you guys are getting. You know more about how to put a show together than a lot of people in the business. Oh no, I didn't mean to say that. The shots from the mirrors with the reversals that you've seen a lot and a consistent theme throughout the shows, yeah, that takes a lot of like technical jockeying for the technical parts of the camera and stuff. So as I watched Scott work, I noticed how generous he was with people and patient, and that's really true. You know, not just trying to be nice. It's really a patient guy. So I've liked working with him that way. He's very generous and helpful. So that's the answer to that question. Anybody else?
Light show.
It's like a Jimi Hendrix experience.
We're having a little technical difficulty with the mics. We need hands in the air so we get the microphone to you.
Way in the back there. Right there, the hat. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name. The lady on the left who played Lita Ader. What is your name, please?
Mary Murrey.
Mary?
Yeah.
Hi, Mary. This is going to be a really silly question, but you're such a good actress. I hated you in that.
I don't think I've had as much fun doing anything in front of a camera as I did Lita Ader. That may be a bit perverse, but I spent a bunch of years doing soap opera. I don't know how many of you watch One Life to Live. I was maybe the nicest human being ever who breathed. I mean, she was so nice and warm warm and round and sweet. And it was, Lita could probably be as far to the other extreme as you could ever get. But the other part that was probably the nicest was being a woman in front of a camera and not caring how I looked. Fabulous, and they paid me anyway.
Have you had anybody come up to you and really hate you because of it, or just curious?
No, you know, if they put it together that it was me, you know what I mean? Usually whatever, she was a pretty extreme-looking creature. They're usually very nice because they figured that out, you know what I mean? No, I've never had that experience. That would be interesting. She was pretty hateful. It was great.
I met her backstage. She's not. Okay.
Question here to your, that's your wife. I have a question for John. At Indie Leap, you told us about a movie that you're working on. Can you give us a progress report?
Yeah, thanks. My publicist, Margaret Cole. I actually started working on a movie with a co-writer, a friend of mine, David Howard. It's called Hard Luck Cowboys. And we're actually going to try and make this film. There's a few people, formerly of Quantum Leap, that will be involved, actually. You don't remember Terry Funk, who played the wrestler, who is a wrestler? It's actually, it's based on a true story about Terry growing up.
I didn't do it.
They don't have any more morphine. It's about Terry growing up on the Texas Boys Ranch, actually in the late 1940s, early 1950s, and it's a terrific story, and hopefully we're going to get this one made. We're actually going to try and raise the money, sell the film, make the film. In fact, Michael Stern tomorrow, who is going to be on your panel, hopefully will edit our film. There'll be a few other actors that we're working with that have done Quantum Leap, so more to follow on that. But thank you, Margaret, for that plug. And we'll keep you up to date. If anybody's interested, talk to me afterwards, and we have some thoughts on that. Anybody remember Bradley?
Oh, probably you.
Any questions for Bradley? One arm over here.
Go ahead. I'm alive.
Hi, Brad.
Hello, ma'am.
I'd like to know, what did you like best working on Quantum Leap? What was your favorite thing?
Well, I got more than just one favorite thing. And I'm going to name all of them.
There's 47 of them.
Another easy. One is the cast and crew, which I've always enjoyed working with. Second of all, working with my brother John. He's the best. You love him? I spoke over there, chatting with you today. Thank you for coming. You know, and also, just you fans being here. You know, it's amazing how many fans don't come, and how many fans are able to come. And I just want to say to those who are not here today, that I wish you guys were here. And there's one person here that I wish who was here, and that's my mom. But unfortunately, I have to live on, and life has to continue. So it's hard for me to go through this, but I'm doing the best I can. And my favorite part of Quantum Leap is, I've got to be honest, is the Jimmy episode. Because I felt that it was very educational. And I also believe that Scott had a lot of guts, to be honest. Because one thing that I liked about in that episode was Scott never gave up. And when John said to Scott he had to go back to Wayside, you know Scott didn't take another one answer. He went back for that job. And believe me, you know what? He got it back. And another thing, he was also a hero to save Ryan. You know, he's a good guy. I like him. He's fun. It's great. Just being here today makes me feel like I'm a new person.
Bradley lives for this day. And he lives to see you.
Question for David. David,
Yes.
what was it like hanging outside a window by a woman?
Are you a neighbor?
Oh, I'm holding the microphone.
That was kind of an interesting afternoon. The opportunity came up, I'm not even sure why, but they came up and asked me if I'd be willing to lean out the window. And I kind of went, well, I have time, and I was talking with the stunt guy, and I watched how they'd set it up, and it looked pretty safe, and I thought, that would be kind of a rush. Being backwards 2 floors up with a man in a dress over me. So I consented because of a situation that came up and made it easier. And as I did it, it was like you forget about the fact that you're doing it on camera, and it's just like you're upside down 2 floors up. It was kind of fun, actually. It was kind of fun, and it felt pretty safe until I went over the ledge. And then it was okay. So that was kind of it's interesting to be upside down, looking out through the trees upside down at the tree level. You know, that was kind of nice.
Was Scott really holding you, or was it a stunt person?
No, it was actually a rope that was hooked with a board across this doorway, and then the rope went out the window, and I was hooked up with a cinch hoist thing underneath my suit, so I was kind of like, was set up out the window with the rope underneath me. But Scott had kind of a hold on me, and as we went out the window, it was kind of like one of those moments that's kind of freeze frame, and you go, what? What? It was fun. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Everybody has a camera in front of their face. We can't even see you. From here, it's a sea of little red dots.
Don't let in the dark.
Hang on.
I've got a question for Murray. The 3 episodes of Trilogy, were they all filmed like simultaneously? And I was wondering, was it really difficult to keep that level of intensity up for that length of time, because it was a really intense thing? And just one quick follow-up question for David, if he could answer it later. Was it hard for everybody to keep a straight face with Scott in all those outfits?
They did do them pretty much in order, and I was really kind of only in the first 2. And the intensity, it's a nice set to work on, so it wasn't difficult. I mean, the only thing I remember, one night we did a late night shoot, and it went to about 2 in the morning, and it was when I was having a psychotic episode and losing it, and I was getting a little bleary-eyed, that was a little exhausting, but no, it's awful to say, but it was really fun. So, strange, but it was a gas. And the dress?
Well, yeah, it's a little different seeing somebody, a big, broad-shouldered guy like Scott wearing this delicate little dress. But despite all the humor that you can go into, and I won't bore you with my comedy routine on that because it's not very good. There's one aspect of this show that I thought was very powerful, that it would make it to the American public and run for so long, is that it had a genderless quality, without getting into all the homophobic parts of it, that men and women were kind of, you went through that, because Scott was this big, masculine, wonderful guy wearing a dress, and so it's kind of a genderless quality. You kind of saw the qualities of people as opposed to what gender they were, man and woman. So sex is a wonderful thing, but it was sort of interesting to examine, people as opposed to just the sexual thing. And how did you feel about that, Richard? Did you guys work with dresses?
No, I had a skin-tight suit that they wouldn't give to me. I did get away with the hat. As a matter of fact, when I did ask for the suit, they said, I came back, I think, a week, well, you're going to have Jean-Pierre's going to be here later this afternoon. That was a very quick situation for me. I called my wife, Patricia. I was doing some business, and she said, they want you at Universal by 12:30, and it was like 10 after 12. And I was in Hollywood, so I was about 5 minutes late. I didn't have a chance to read the script. I went in, I did it, and at 1 o'clock I was in the wardrobe. I was getting measured for that suit that John Long, he made one for myself, and he made one for Scott. And I know I couldn't get it. As a matter of fact, as I said, when I went to get it, they had already put it in their wardrobe and had rented it to another series or a film or something. So it's wandering around out there. But working, Scott in both Future Boy and Mirror Image. Mirror Image especially because that was Don's hometown. And a lot of his relatives had flown in for that shoot. A lot of his uncles that had all grown up in and around that town and in that bar, which his family... Didn't his family own that bar, John? In Cokesburg, Pennsylvania? I think they did. Yes, they did, because he told me all the pictures that you see on the wall in the mirror are all legitimate family pictures of his mother, his father, his brothers, the whole situation. So that was a very special series for him, and for, it's for like Mike Genovese, who's going to be here. Mike Genovese, who's now doing a recurring role with his wife Ellen Crawford, who my wife Patricia has done a play with. Mike did the first episode and the last episode, kind of a wraparound. So it's a one that like Bradley said, that was there are some shows that you work, they're not even like a job. It's so pleasant to come to work, and it's so easy, and it's like, there are certain shows that you never have to take the script home. You study or you think of character, but what your character is comes so easy, and therefore the lines come out. It's that kind of a show. By the way, watch on March, it's my commercial here. I did a Seinfeld. I'm recurring on Seinfeld now. And I'm playing the second in command to George Steinbrenner, who, by the way, is the head producer, Larry David, who worked with Seinfeld doing stand-up in the Improv in New York years ago. He plays Steinbrenner. You only see him from the back. And I play his second in command, so all of my stuff is with Jason, who's a really good guy. But it's really a pleasure to be here amongst these friends, and like John and I also did Sequest together. We did in the old days when we had all the right people on it. I wish every show the most success in the world, because the longer a show stays on, no matter which way it goes, with you or without you, it gives more employment to all sorts of people in our profession. So I wish everybody success, and there's always another turn in the road, there's another door to open for something else. I just believe it's all meant to be. And it's really beautiful to be amongst all you people today.
John and Brad and Richard, I was here last year and got a chance to talk to you, and I'm glad I got a chance to come back and meet you all. But John, my question is for you. Did your mother ever recover from the earthquake? That was such a wonderful story.
Now you're in a postcode now. Oh boy.
Yeah, my mom and dad were here for they got to experience the earthquake. They were in their final day of their vacation when it hit. And those of you that know, it was a pretty strange morning, as in most homes. And in fact, my friend Jenny is here, and I know her house took a pretty good hit. But yeah, she's doing fine, thank you. She's recovered, and she's recovered from watching her son pick her up naked. But thanks for asking. I love that.
John, this is more of a comment maybe than a question, but I wanted you to know I'm here from Orlando, and which is the also the headquarters of the Sequest fan club. They all almost killed me when they found out I was coming here and you were going to be here and they weren't able to come. They are all going to Indie Leap and they're saying, please let John be at Indie Leap, please let John be at Indie Leap. So you've got quite a fan club back there that's hoping you're going to be able to be there.
No, I want to say something now, if I may. We brought someone today with us. His name is Eduardo. Can you please stand up, please? Please. And one more thing. Karen, did Ryan never show up?
No, I never heard from him.
No. Shucks.
How many of you were here last year? Do you remember Eduardo, my little brother?
Yes.
He's a star in his own right now. He's going to be following the Seinfeld show, the Eduardo show.
Good going, Eduardo.
And we're 3 years together, right? This coming year. Now he's like my bodyguard. He's getting so good.
When my birthday's coming up, I'll be 29.
You can send gifts to the brass Silverman.
John, you send everything to John at Santa Monica.
What did you say, Richard?
I said send it to you, and you'll make sure that Bradley gets it.
That's right.
Well, I mean, you've come all this way, and that's it.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First of all, Brad, do you have any projects coming up in the future? In the near future?
Projects?
Oh, and to follow that afterwards, can a couple of you speak about where you began, where your careers began, school, possibly?
Okay. I thought you were going to bring that up. Well, from Pasadena High School, then I went on to Pasadena City College. Okay. I was living in Pasadena for quite some time. I also worked for Fannie Mae for at least a good year. And then my mom got very ill. She had cancer in the liver. And then she passed off. And then I had to move. I had to move into Culver City, which now I live at the Ellis house. And I live with 5 other residents. Now, it was very different living in Culver City than living in Pasadena. It's a big change. And every day I keep saying to myself that it's so hard to be able to adjust, which I'm trying to, I have been, and it's like an everyday thing. Some days I'd like to get myself married, I don't know how that's going to happen, and don't you start crying now. Stuff like that, kind of nice, I feel good.
I think you wanted everyone else to comment on what your background is.
When I worked on Quantum Leap, one of the fun things was, pertaining to where we started, Scott Bakula made his career before coming out here, and I think pretty much doing Quantum Leap, doing musical theater and a lot of theater back in New York, and that's where I was for 17 years. So it was very comforting to be on a set with someone who was a familiar face, since I was very, very new out here when I did that show. So my background was a lot of years back in New York City, and I studied various people, went to the Juilliard School and all that stuff. Did every little increment of theater and whatever along the line. Yeah.
Richard?
Yes? Is this a collect call?
Oh, boy.
I wanted to make a comment to you.
Where are you?
Right here.
Oh, okay. It's hard to see.
I'm from Kansas.
Well, near Lawrence?
40 miles south of Lawrence.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends living in Lawrence.
I just wanted to let you know I've enjoyed you for a long time, many years, in several different roles.
Thank you.
And but I wanted to tell you that in Mirror Image and Future Boy both, I had to watch the very last scene several different times before I could quit crying and listen to the words, because you were just so wonderful in that. And you actually took that last part of the show away from Scott, I thought. You were just wonderful.
Well, let's not say I took it away from him, let's say he gave it to me.
Well,
Some actors do that.
I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And by the way, go, where you are, we haven't researched it thoroughly, but I have he has to be a cousin, Stan Hurd, H-E-R-D, from Lawrence, Kansas. He's like the world's foremost field artist. Have you seen in magazines those things from the air? Like all of these paintings and the absolute vodka and all this stuff. It takes him a year, like he plants certain crops, and then he goes in with it, and he cuts them all down, and you see his paintings from the air. Yeah, he lives in Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah. So he's kind of spacey. The herds are all spacey. Oh, by the way, a little commercial. My wife Patricia over here is going to be going into, the Broadway production of Streetcar Named Desire had Jessica Lange and Alec Baldwin. My wife's going to be doing the movie with Alec and Jessica and John Goodman doing Midge. And it's going to be a movie of the week, and she's in very good company, so I want to recognize her. For one brief episode, and there were many more episodes that a wonderful man by the name of David Kemper was going to write both for Pat and I. And so Pat played on Sequest, very few people realize, but we were paid for sleeping together. Mr. and Mrs. Noyce, we had our scene awakened by the captain one morning on Sequest in our bedroom. So Pat was Mrs. Noyce.
Question over here. Are you also where you started? What do you do? What are you all doing now?
We're here. Well, actors, I think everybody. I'll tell you something. I don't think there's anybody sitting here that isn't always trying to improve themselves, their mind, their profession, their life. Reach out to the community, study, go to class, take vocal production lessons, keep your body in shape. I think we're in a profession even more than athletes, where athletes reach a certain time and retire. The actor is a lifetime student. So I like what the English have to say. When you're not working presently, they say they're resting. You see, but every actor I know that's worth his salt is, because you see, every day of your life as an actor, even when you're on a series or working, there's this constancy of your agent and yourself bugging people to get more work. You have to be competitive in a way that you have to really participate in your career. You can't wait for the phone to ring. You have to be out there and part of your career. And besides that, you've got to do all these other things to, you see, even if you don't get a lot of work out of it, it keeps you younger, it keeps you motivated. You just have to keep a certain regimen, because an actor always has to be on simmer. You always have to be ready to instantaneously be brilliant. That's what they expect. They expect, you've got to remember, in our profession, whatever their level of perfection is, whatever it might be, whatever medium, that's what they expect. And that's what they pay you for. They pay you to hit the marks and say your words, but inside yourself, if you're any kind of an actor at all, you see, I don't know, it's, I don't strive for brilliance anymore. I just strive for excellence.
You have a question in the back of the room here?
Yeah, this is for the whole panel. I was wondering if, given the opportunity, if you'd come back to possibly film one of the movies, if they could get into the big motion picture.
Of course we would come back.
No, I'm much too busy.
I'm holding out for the road show.
I'll do the second national tour.
Hello, my name is Lucy Ranson, and I'm from France, the president of the French Coincidentally Fan Club. Oh, and we just had the last episode of Coincidentally on French television, and we've been quite sad seeing that we've got hundreds of people writing to us, telling us how the series changed their lives and how they're quite sad now. So I'd like to ask John, Richard, and Brad how it was like filming this last episode, how the atmosphere was on the set.
Okay. Quantum Leap.
I can speak in French.
Please don't make me embarrassed on this one. Okay. Quantum Leap has been in France, and aired in France, because I've been getting paid with some of these episodes that are coming on the USA channel. Now, I have been watching almost all the episodes, and one of the episodes came from France. Because when I done my check, it said France on it.
Did they pay you in francs?
You know, I get paid for every episode that comes on. Every single episode I'm getting paid. Even if it's Deliver Us from Evil, if it's Shot Fever, Mirror Image, whatever episode comes on, I get paid for.
Even if you want.
I don't mind, I'm not all of you.
And was the question, how did it feel to be a part of it?
Funny, Karen.
The last episode.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's really interesting is I think that Richard and I were hired for Sequest during that final episode.
Right. We were.
As we were filming.
We're next to nothing.
Yeah. We made almost $300 a week on that show. Before commission.
But our value, the longer we were on the show, our value.
But getting back to the question, it was sad because, well, everybody is in agreement that Scott's a great human being, and y'all want a great show to go and stay on the air. We enjoyed working with the crew as well. They had so many faces in that episode that it really was very reminiscent of what the show had been over the last 5 years. And even at that time, we didn't know it was going to be the last episode. There was still some hope that the show would be coming back. So it's a weird sort of limbo area to be in. I'm in it often, trust me. It was good to be working with Don and Richard and the rest of the guys. There's some really, really nice actors on the show. I'm just
Jimmy
so proud to
Whitmore
be part of it.
directing it.
Yeah, who directed Jimmy? That's right. Did you want to finish up on that, Richard?
Yeah. Also, you know, we have to say that I personally want to thank Tommy Thompson. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, the best part, I feel, as far as the writing is concerned and the dimensionality of the character, the most fun, the best part I ever had, and I tried to get Don Belisario to make it into a series. And he considered it for a moment. And so did, what was that fella's name over there, Jonathan, honey, over at that show they were doing, Blossom? The Blossom people were very interested for a while in making Captain Galaxy into a series. You know, to give him a life, and he had this show and so forth in Milwaukee when he moved on home with his daughter and so forth. But I want to thank, you know, Tommy's words. Tommy wrote that show, and it was just so lyrically beautiful. And also Tommy, who was the head man on Sequest, was responsible for John and I at least getting in the door. Nobody can give you the job, but they can get you in the door, and the big guy was smiling on us, and John and I worked again for Tommy. So, you know, it's amazing what came out of that whole situation when you think of how your destiny... And I knew Don years and years ago in New York and down in New Orleans and so forth and so on. We didn't get together until then. But I personally, I just wanted to do another show. I wanted to do another Quantum Leap because I always, you see, every time I have a little habit because being from New York and being in the theater 22 years and so on, you go out, you run into people all the time in New York. You bump into your friends in the street at an audition. There's a proximity, close. Here you don't. So my habit, every time I was on at Warner's or Universal, whatever, like at Warner's, it was always the makeup room, and then the production office at Universal. You can go and all the call sheets for all the shows are up there every day. Every show that's on the lot. If it's off the lot, it says that too. And what I would do is look for friends and directors I knew from New York, or that I worked with, and I'd look for them. And then when I was doing the show and I was off for a couple of hours, I'd just tell the AD I was going to go visit. So I used to be able to visit all my friends that way, on the lot, on the set. And every time I was on Universal, even if I wasn't working, I would make it a habit to call ahead and go on over and see Dean and Scott and Don and what was the fellow's BMW. Big Mike Watt, yeah, BMW. That's what we call it. And Jean-Paul. You see, that's unusual when you go back like that and you just want to visit all these people because they were so warm and it was so easy and it was effortless. Effortless, but they were perfectionists. They were perfectionists, and that was a high, when you look at television today, that was a high-level show. Yes. There were qualities on that show that you don't see. And they had to fight at the beginning to get an audience for that show. You know, I don't know, Homicide is a different kind of thing, but Homicide has come and gone 4 times. It's been canceled. Simon & Simon was canceled 4 times. Each one of those shows came back. But I can't recall a show of this sort. And you've got to realize if you're the costumer on a show like that, every week you are at a different time, a different element, a different place. It's not like a show that is a contemporary show or even a Western. You know where you are, you know what's happening. That's an enormous amount of work on a week-to-week basis for people to do that. Also the different locations, the kind of lighting, sun, night, dark, boom, boom, heat, sweat, cold. You know, it's every week geographically, physically, and as the actors and the actors that he deals with, like on Mirror Image, it was sort of a limbo situation. It was a place that you come and you pass through to cleanse yourself and go beyond or be released, or a place of redemption. That's what everybody had a different feeling about that. But that's a shame. You know, we'll probably never see a show like that.
We have one last question. Sorry, we have one last question back here.
Actually, this is a 2-parter. First one is for Bradley, Richard, and John. You had recurring roles as the same characters. Did you know going in, or at any time, did you know that you were going to be coming back? And the second part of that, to everybody up there on the panel, not to inflate your egos, but to choose a favorite episode, excluding the one you were in.
No, I had no idea, nor did Bradley have any idea that we were going to be coming back. It was interesting because our job, forgive me for taking the microphone. It was funny because we met, and it's, you know, people know the story, but as an actor, I'm thinking, okay, this is the Mirror Image person, and I know Scott's playing Jimmy, so as an actor, I'm selfishly thinking, okay, I want to get to know this person because he's going to help me out in my performance. But little did I know, and we just connected immediately, and you know, we became this symbiotic brotherly relationship that's lasted through the years. So even after the first episode, Bradley and I remained friends, not knowing we would ever be invited back. So then we had the joy of becoming friends, and then we're invited back again, and then our friendship grew from there, and then we're invited back again, and you know, and it's turned out to be something very, very rewarding. But no, we didn't know. All I did know is that it was a special episode, and selfishly speaking, I think it's the best 1 hour, as Richard said in his life, but it's the best 1 hour of television I've ever done. Right? And I think it was also a really nice marriage of what I do as an actor and the character. And that was, by the way, the 5th role that I had auditioned for Quantum Leap. So it does take time and persistence sometimes. But I did want to say, I don't know if I have a particularly special episode. I do love so many, but I did want to bring up Eduardo's favorite episode, which is the JFK episode. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give Eduardo credit for that.
You want to know something else? There was one episode that I did that Jonathan wasn't able to do.
He always brings it.
That was the, I don't know which one that was, but I know that the one excellent that John did not do.
He's received 30 more checks as a result of France.
Right. I always think of stuff like that. I always do.
The question, no, when I did the first one, I had no idea, I wanted to come back. I had no idea that I would be asked back. When Don checked our availability, when he wrote our characters in that, I'm glad I was available for that. I think of with Eduardo, the JFK, and I also think of the Vietnam one. Thank you all for being here and for being sort of fans. Thank you.
I guess we'll see you in the corridors outside.
No,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you in the future. Yeah, we will be signing autographs, some of us up front. I'll be there.
Well, okay, we're about to start our next guest panel. Before we do, another quick reminder about our charity auction drawing. All the items are on display to the stage. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who is Sue Ann in Memphis Melody. And doing that wonderful dual acting course that Mary Elizabeth does, let's invite next Willie Garson, who has 3 more in the Next up is Sheryl Francis Harrington. Sheryl was the lucky lady who got to dance with Scott in Black on White on Fire. And Michele Joyner was the wonderful Sister Angela in The Right Hand of God.
Willie's going to sing for us now.
I'm going to sing Amazing Grace.
This will be amazing.
Yes.
How is everyone doing? You having fun? That's fantastic.
Well, hi, I'm Sheryl, and I'm originally from New York, and I still say water. That's mandatory in order to stay in the city. You're from New York. And this is really exciting. I'm glad to see everyone here. And I'll let you meet my other colleagues.
I'm Michele Joyner, and I worked on Quantum Leap. I think it was the 2nd season. I'm not sure exactly. I think it was the 2nd season. Well, you would know. We're not gonna let anything. You're not gonna let anything slip past. Yeah, it was the 1st season. Yeah, and I had a terrific time. I just moved out to Los Angeles at that point. It was only my 2nd or 3rd TV job, and it was a wonderful experience. And I was playing a nun, for those of you who saw the episode, and and it's the first and only time I've ever been in a habit. although I have lots of bad habits. And I remember when I first got there my first day playing Sister Angela, I went to the makeup trailer and they said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm here for my makeup." And they said, "Nuns don't wear makeup." And I said, "Oh, okay." I was kind of mortified about the idea of going on national television without a stitch of makeup on, but it turned out to be fine. It was appropriate for the character.
I'm Mary McGlynn, and I'm from. Hi, how are you? I'm from New Jersey. We say water, actually. Instead of water, we go water. Born in Newark, South Orange, Short Hills area. For anybody from back there. Yes? Whereabouts? You live near Dover. Our cousins live in Dover. Yes. And I was Sue Ann in Memphis Melody, which was just a great experience. It was really fun. It was great because the first time I met Scott, my first day on the set was actually in the recording studio. And I walked in and there was Scott on the guitar singing, I think, Playhouse, the Comeback Baby song. And I went, wow, okay, this should be fun. And it definitely was. Although The Amazing Grace was live when we did it, everything else was recorded, and that was our first day. So I knew I was off to a pretty good start with that one. It was really a lot of fun. And Willie's going to sing for me instead.
I'm Willie Garson. I was here last year. I played Seymour, which was in the. And then I played Oswald in the. Okay, so thanks for coming. Oh, I played Oswald in a movie called Ruby about Jack Ruby, and Don Belisario had seen the movie and decided that I had to play Oswald, which was like a scary thing that I was so perfectly suited to play Oswald more than once. And so he met with me and said, it was like a decision, do I want to play Oswald again? And then I did it. And it was, it was great. It was just so incredible to come back after all that time. So, do you guys have some questions or anything for us? Anyone? No?
No questions. I saw someone back there with her hand partly raised. Are you?
Okay.
All right. What's your name?
There you go.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Karen Blocker from Project Quantum Leap.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen. And Willie, we interviewed you last year, and we will be running that interview sometime. But I would
Did I have my hairpiece on?
No. I do have a question about the shooting Memphis Melody.
Yeah.
Have you had any reaction from Elvis fans since that episode?
I haven't personally, but I spoke with Don, and he said that a lot of the Elvis Presley fans in the fan club had written and were very enthusiastic about it, and they felt that what we did in the show, and especially what Scott did, was very true to Elvis, and that it was a really nice tribute. It's also nice for me to tell my kids I got to sing with Elvis Presley. So, yeah, it was great, and we got a lot of good response, I think, from the Elvis fan club, which is great. Yes.
Actually, my question is for Michele. When watching your episode and you're running up the hill with Sam and he has the bricks, I'm wondering if that was on the Universal Studio lot and if it's right by where that collapsible bridge is.
Yes, it was all done on the lot. Yeah. And it was a lot of exercise.
it's amazing. In 2 episodes, I didn't shoot. I don't think I shot a minute on the lot.
Really?
I think it was maybe once, like one day. You only shot on them.
It was interesting. I was watching The Burbs, I guess, 2 nights ago. I hadn't seen it before, and Tom Hanks came out of that house, and I thought, my goodness, that's where I lived in Memphis. Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of nice, you know, living across the house from across the street from the Munsters and all these other people. But if you actually go on the tour at Universal, you can see all of that. They usually take you back there. You can see all the houses and everything, and we shot all of that stuff. It's very fun.
We did, in the episode that I did, there was the climax of the show was a big boxing match, because Sam had been put into a boxer's body, and I, as a nun, was his trainer. I know that sounds sort of thing. The money that we were going to win from the boxer was going to go to build a new chapel for our church, and the plan was that a stripper, not a stripper, but a streaker was hired. It was 1972, and so streaking was really big then. And so we thought that if we hired a streaker to run through the crowd during the boxing match, the other boxer would get distracted, and Sam could punch him out while he was looking at this woman running across the audience. So that was the plan. And they cast a girl who, to be the streaker, and she was wearing a flesh-colored unitard, full-length body stocking, that from a very far distance you would think that she didn't have any clothes on, but you could tell up close that she was wearing this thing. And they had assembled all hundreds and hundreds of extras. And the director, before we were about to shoot it, came up to Scott and myself and a couple other principals in the scene and said, I just have to tell you that the girl we hired has agreed to do it naked. And of course, we can't show her on television, but what we're going to shoot are the reactions of the crowd, of extras, because they'll be so stunned and surprised. I want to capture it all on film. Instead of asking them to act stunned and surprised, they actually want them to be stunned and surprised. So we said, great, if she's willing to do it, fine. So the hundreds of extras are there. He gives the spiel about, the streaker's going to be running through, and we rehearsed it a few times, her wearing her unitard. And then we're about to shoot it, and I was off on the sidelines getting some makeup done or something. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Teamsters and their reputation, but these are the guys from the union that run all the big equipment and the truck drivers, and essentially, this is a bit of a generalization, but their reputation is that they eat donuts and they sleep in the cab of the truck, and they get paid lots of money. And of course they do a lot of work too, but we're fond of them. But they do eat a lot of donuts and sleep a lot during the day. So I was getting my makeup done on the side. We're about to shoot the scene, and this Teamster comes in and says, "What's going on in here?" I said, "We're getting ready to shoot a scene." He said, "No, what's going on?" I have never seen this many Teamsters awake at one time. I know something's going on. Some word had leaked out to the Teamsters that the girl was going to be naked, and they all woke up and came in. So,
did she do it naked, though?
She did it naked, yes. And if you watch that episode, you'll see the reaction. The faces on the people in the crowd are priceless because they just weren't expecting it.
What's her name?
I don't remember. It's funny.
And today she's on, that's Brett. She's on Grace Under Fire.
Mary? Yeah. I'm over here. Oh, hi. Hi. You were wonderful in Memphis, Melody.
Thank you.
I don't remember ever seeing you before or since. What else have you done? I do lots of gardening down here. My own house, especially, if you'd like to come over and take a look. Well, as I think a lot of actors in LA, most of us do a lot of things that don't necessarily make it to the air. So in that respect, I've been working a lot. What's nice is I've been able to incorporate the singing into an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. What else? I did, a pilot for Aaron Spelling, and what I'm doing a lot now is singing. A lot more of that, which is a lot of fun. I was singing in Tattoo in Beverly Hills for some time, and then I've been doing a lot of backup vocals for different recordings recently. So, you know, as an actress, it's interesting to see how things progress after, you know.
I think it's very, this is normally a pretty loaded question for an actor. So what have you been doing? Because everyone gets classified by the last thing that someone saw. And and you think it's overnight when you see someone, and it's never, it's very rare that it's overnight. I can say that I received my union card, my Screen Actors Guild card in the 70s, early 70s. That's when I got the card, and it wasn't until I'd say last year that I was going out on what they call guest star roles. So that's quite a long time. And during that time, and I say that because there's times when I myself dislike actors, and there are times when I say, what a great group of people, because to be consistently dedicated to your craft by taking classes, if you can afford to continue to take classes in addition to live, because we all have to maintain our homes, our lifestyle, and our photos, and the looks, and the this and the that, and that takes an enormous amount, as you all know, of just keeping your own self up. But we also have to be ready for that audition, and that requires having your instrument grilled, in tune, like a doctor. You know, you don't want anyone on ER operating on you, is that for sure, right? So she, like she said, there are a lot of movies or projects that she's gone up for. I myself have done several movies, Lethal Weapon 1, and I was cut. But I still get a check, but it doesn't mean anything because she's never seen it. And so, yes, but not getting a check. But so there's always a lot of different episodics. So you actually have to be, like yourself, fans of one show to perhaps catch her in Knight Rider or something like that.
Or what else is interesting is that sometimes you get stuck in the same role. Since Quantum Leap, I have been beat up by every husband I've ever had. You know, and it was nice for Scott to save me from that fate in the Quantum Leap episode, but someone up there wants to make sure that I get that information within me. So since then, I've been beat up on 3 or 4 episodic television shows by my husband, you know. So it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes, I was asking Willie when we were waiting outside. I was looking through the program for today, and they have a small bio of everyone. And one of the credits that was mentioned in my bio was a film that I did that I was completely cut out from. I don't know. It's not supposed to be in my bio. Someone must have just seen it on my resume or something. And I said to Willie, "What am I going to do if they ask me about this movie?"
I should tell them you got cut out.
Yeah, that's right. So, like Sheryl was saying, that does happen a lot.
Like Mary said, you know what was interesting? I played in Black and White on Fire. My character was an anguished mother. Her child had gotten beat up in the crossfire, and she's bringing her into the hospital, and I played a lot of victims. I found that out. If you think about it, I played a lot of victims because I can cry easily, and it helps, yeah, and that's good. And recently I've been doing a lot of Whoopi Goldberg type things, which is nice. She's working, so I can take the slack. And so that's really interesting. And you know, Willie, he owned several coffee shops. He used to own Java and a couple of coffee shops in Los Angeles. So there's a lot of things that happen in our lives. You want to tell them about coffee beans and the favorite cup of coffee?
I went into the coffee business. About 3 years ago, we opened a bunch of coffee houses in Los Angeles, and it didn't go so well. And I opened it. I didn't work for like 9 months, and I really freaked out. But, oh man, I have to do something else just in case. And we opened these coffee houses, my partners and I, and then of course I started getting a lot of work, and then wasn't around to run them. So we lost a lot of money, and I sold them. But it's been, you know, it taught me a lot about dedication back into my acting, and like that what I do is enough for me to do. I don't have to do something else. Like it's like, you know, I grew up thinking like, oh, actors are stupid people who walk around and say a couple of lines and then they leave. And so I wasn't really happy about just being an actor. So that's why I started opening businesses. But then I really realized that the more I apply myself, the more I enjoy my work. And so it's been, since I saw you last year, I had a really good year, and I had a movie called Speechless come out that I shot for a long time. I have 2 more movies coming up, and I'm recurring on a sitcom called Pigsty. It's kind of a high concept.
You won't ask for gold link.
See, there's 5 guys who live in an apartment, and it's getting messy.
Oh, how
It's a pig.
So it's interesting. You go through spells where you're hot, and then you go through spells where you're not, and you just have to ride it. It's like a wave. And it always comes back around if you're patient, and if you get back into the hot baby.
There's a lady back there with a question.
That's okay. Mary, hi. Earlier you said that you had, that you and Scott sang live on Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
And that the rest of it, I guess, was looped. But when you and Scott were doing duets, how did you loop them? Did you loop it together? Or were you, or did each of you come in separately to loop on that? How did you work that?
We sang The Circle Unbroken. We sang that, we recorded that together. Yeah, it's a great song. We recorded that together in the studio the first day that we went in, which sometimes can be a disadvantage because, you know, that's the first day, and all of a sudden you sort of spend the week developing this character, and then it comes to that final day where you actually shoot it, and you're thinking, ooh, I could have done something else with that. But actually, I was pretty pleased with that. So we recorded that in the studio. The Amazing Grace, we each had microphones, receivers, headsets, but it was just a little receiver, one in each ear, and we had the harmonica playing, so we knew what key we were singing in, and we did it live 3 times, and then for the close-ups and everything else, they picked the vocal that they liked the best, and we lip-synced to that for any close-ups or anything else that we had to do for that one. But we were lip-syncing to on the stage for Will the Circle Be Unbroken, which was really fun. It was really a great time. It was better than Patty without the Super Bowl. I was been told by
You have a question in the front? Put your hand. Oh, it's important. We want to hear what you have to say. You're on the spotlight anyway.
What was the most fun part about working with Dean Stockwell? Because he always seems like he's having so much fun. What was it? You know, there seems to be so much chemistry between him and Scott.
Yeah, well, they got out there and, you know, I mean, every take was different because it was a lot of sort of improv with the machinery and everything else. And the 2 of them together were really incredible. I can't quite tell you what they called each other upon their introductions to me. I laughed so hard, and I knew at that point it was going to be a good week, you know. And they were really friendly and open, and Dean was just terrific. I mean, really terrific.
Dean's the most person I've ever worked with who was like, he lives on a set. He's one of those guys, he walks on, he's so happy to be there, but it's not like he's excited about it or anything. It's just that's where he lives. And he was the first person I ever met who owned his own mobile home. He'd been shooting so long forever. He eventually bought his trailer. And so whenever he works, whatever production company it is rents his trailer from him as opposed to renting it.
The thing that's interesting about working on Quantum Leap was with Dean Stockwell is that none of the guest stars, none of the characters in this scene are allowed to react to him because we're not supposed to see him. No one is supposed to see.
I had to do one with him.
Oh,
Yeah, in the blue room where he's like yelling at me. That was scary.
So everyone says, what's it like working with Dean Stockwell? And it's kind of hard to answer because you don't really have a scene with him. You're in the same scene, but you can't look at him, you can't react to him. You know, in between takes and things,
he's very friendly and very nice and stuff. But it's interesting to you can't really say if you've worked with him. Necessarily.
The hardest thing is not to laugh, you know. So.
This question, can you hear me? This
Yeah.
question is for Sheryl. Black on White on Fire was such an intense episode. It's one of my favorites. But it brought out so many feelings that people tend to try to keep hidden. And I wondered what the atmosphere was like on the set when that was being filmed.
Actually, it wasn't hostile at all. I wasn't in Los Angeles when they had the Watts riots. For those of you who don't know, that's what that episode was about. It was the Watts riots, and it was in black and white, too. The episode was not in color. And it was... I was so, I didn't recognize any hostility. The way it was put together, when I finally saw it, I was so impressed. Don's wife wrote that episode, and I was so touched with it. It's like a lost art, the way it was done. I'm really deeply affected by that piece, and I liked what she did with it and how it was done, you know. But no, it was like another day on the set. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. My name is Harriet.
Harriet, you have a fan club.
I was working in the office. I wasn't on the set that much. But I had a little story about the right-handed guy that I wanted to share. I think you'll enjoy it. I was reminded when you said boxing scene. And before technology took over, we had dailies on cassettes. We used to sit in a screening room like this and watch them on a screen. And at the tail end of those dailies, it was Scott's little girl's birthday. Were you there at the time when Chelsea was in the ring? And you can see this boxing ring and this little girl. And Scott is bringing her the birthday cake. And everybody on the set is singing happy birthday. And we hear this little voice say, "Daddy, how did you know it was my birthday?" And of course we all broke up. I do have a question, because you've all worked on other shows. I always said we have the happiest set I've ever worked on. But do you have any comparisons about how our set was?
I think that I can say from my experience, can't speak for the others, that when a show has two lead characters only, which in this case is Dean and Scott, and not an ensemble, it's a lot of pressure on those actors because they are in almost, especially Scott is in every scene. It's the most demanding part on television I've ever seen. He's got to play these different characters or embody these different characters every week that put him in lots of different situations. And he was, they both were the nicest, most generous, most friendly people that I've worked with before or since, and especially in that capacity. It's different when you're working at an ensemble show. There's not like a big, not necessarily the star who might have a bad attitude or pull rank on you or something. But in the case where there's one person who carries the show, a lot of times you run into that. And on this show, I was in the first season, but I know people that have worked throughout the show, and I know that he hasn't changed.
No, I was in the second to last episode, and he was amazing. We all called Scott the spreader of love and joy on the planet. He was truly amazing, a model human being.
The other shows I've worked on, it's been great. I recently worked on the Seinfeld, and that was a lot of fun. Those guys are always joking all the time. It's fabulous.
I found there was no difference between the beginning of Quantum Leap and the end. It really amazed me because the beginning was, especially the Seymour episode, was way over budget, very slow to shoot because it was so detail oriented, but it was like they were in it together, which is something I found on other shows at the beginning because they're dying for the show to get picked up and everyone's really working for it. But then when I came in at the end to do Oswald, it was as much, if not more. Hard work from Scott, and there's a scene where he has to match my voice.
Yeah.
He gets to speak exactly. And he the first day, we went out to lunch so he could just sit and talk. It's he's just was so into it. I did I did an episode, I always use this example because it's just it was the most ridiculous I'd ever seen. I did an episode of LA Law in the last season, and it's like, they have their soundstage, every set is lit, because they've used the same set for whatever, 8 years. And it's like, you walk in, they're like, okay, who's in this seat? They come in, they shoot it, and then everyone goes back to their rooms. I mean, it's like you're not even working. It was the most like passive environment of working I'd ever seen. And it's like such a difference with shows that people are like passionate about. I mean, I think this is a real rarity as far as shooting.
We have a question back here.
For Sheryl.
Yes.
We all enjoyed watching your blooper when you were dancing with Scott.
I can't hear you.
So we all,
It's the wrong one.
we all enjoyed watching your blooper when you were dancing with Scott when he forgot his lines.
That wasn't me.
That was,
yeah, that was a different person.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
Wasn't wondering what she was
I
talking
didn't
about.
get to dance with Scott.
Sorry, that's my mistake.
Who was that?
It was the wrong one.
We
put it wrong.
you as the character that danced. Oh, okay.
Well, we've all enjoyed your blooper.
Way down there on the left side.
Okay, about the character that you did play. Did you get residuals for the scene where you're carrying in the daughter that was rerun as part of the opening to the show? Not. Should I not have mentioned this?
No, that's okay. No, it was. I viewed it as publicity. You know, publicity. I didn't try to pursue that. But now that you think about it,
Get on the for 2 years. And I was not in the opening credits.
maybe you have my checks.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Can we talk after this?
And then they stopped.
I'll have my accountant call you.
And they stopped.
In
Like
the
someone found
episode
it.
that I did, I was in the very last scene, last shot with Scott, and I'm hugging him, and suddenly his body, he disappears. What's the term for when he? Yeah, well, yes. In Star Trek, they used to call beaming. Yeah, exactly. And then he's going into the next episode, which he played a rodeo rider. He's on a bull all of a sudden. And so whenever they show the second episode, that episode that I'm not in, it starts with him hugging me, and then he goes into the body of the rodeo rider. So I did get a residual every time they showed that other episode, even though I wasn't in it, because they showed just a clip of me at the very beginning. So, and I remember when I first started getting those checks, I thought I wasn't in that episode. I don't know if I should point that out to anybody, but then I realized when I watched it again that that's why. Because they showed me just in the very beginning from the previous one.
Is that trailer of me still running it now?
Cheryl's going to make sure she
I'm
gets
gonna look into that. It is?
Yeah, it's on USA.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you. Maybe next year when you see me, I'll be some big star.
at least a big bank account.
But it's funny with the technical aspects or special effect aspects. People always say, so how do they do this or how do they do that? Like that process that we were just talking about. Of course, I don't have a clue. As you know, I don't know what it's called. But I was in a movie last summer called Cliffhanger. And I don't know if any of you saw it. I was the girl in the belly.
Oh, that scene.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you do that.
How did you do that? Well, I actually ended up doing the entire stunt, except for one part where the girl who was my stunt double fell about 1,000 feet on a line. But I wasn't meant to do this stunt. It just happened that way, and I was booked for 2 weeks. And when I got there, by the time we finished the scene, I was there for 12 weeks, having shot the whole thing. And everyone assumes, because of technology and the abilities that they have today with special effects, that it was a trick. So I said, come on, how did they do that? And in fact, we were actually up on that wire 4,000 feet with no nets, no special, and the camera was on another wire above us. And I was with Stallone's double, it wasn't with him, because he
the only way we could get to that location was by helicopter, and he doesn't go in helicopters. So I was with his double. So anytime you see me looking up at him, it was the camera above us, and the crevasse that you see is actually real. We were literally hanging out there.
Wait, but the shot of you, there's a shot of you from straight above as you're going down and then reaching out.
That shot was done on the stage. That was a trick.
Oh, okay. That's a good trick.
That was done. It was funny because the director had called me because he was working. This was all shot in Italy, and the director told me they were shooting in Rome, and I was with second unit up in the mountains. And he said, "Would you be willing to do a 30-foot fall for the scene where you drop out of the glove?" And on the stage, and I said, 30 feet, piece of cake. I was working 4,000 feet. 30 feet sounded like, jumping off this table. And so I said, sure, no problem, because I was feeling very brave. And I got down to the stage, and they hoisted me up. 30 feet is like standing on the top of a 3-story house. And they hoisted me up there, and I'm holding onto the thing, and the camera's going, and I'm looking down there saying, okay, go. And I said, go. Go. So, but it was fun, and I felt very safe. I was in very good hands, and with the stunt coordinators were all excellent. But I looked at the movie, and when I watched the movie, I think it's a good scene because I was terrified. And it shows in the movie. But I think that when I look at the movie now, I thought to myself, there's a lot that I could have gotten away with not doing, and without risking my life like I did. And I don't know that I would do it again. I was happy to do it that time because it was such a mental challenge for me to get out there over such an exposed place and hang. But when I came off of that wire the first time, I went to walk onto the side of the cliff and my legs just completely gave out. I couldn't even walk. They had to carry me up.
Well, bravo.
It's amazing. It always is amazing when people ask you how you shoot something. I never remember. It's like I was there. Like I don't know. Like
I remember that one.
Like fight scenes and stuff. I never remember. Like, well, did I kick him?
Well, the stuff like, putting Dean in to certain scenes, you just had to freeze. This is nothing like the fall, but what they did on the show is that you just had to freeze no matter where you were. At one point I was throwing up, and I was in mid, bring it in, okay, go, It's on a lesser scale, that's how they did it in movie land.
We can't tell movie magic.
Well, there are things we cannot tell you, but
I did a movie where they had a stunt double because there's a big fight scene, and they looked at me and said, "Okay, you're not doing this," but and they got this guy, and the problem was they had to try and find someone who was exactly bald like I am, like the exact to be my stunt double. So they solved it was I just wore a hat. So and he beats up Christian Slater, and I just sit and wear my hat. Elsewhere he wears my hat. Any other questions?
Why did they make you do this stunt instead of having a stunt person do it on cliffhanger?
It wasn't like they made me. When I auditioned for the movie, the director had asked me if I would be willing to be put on the peak where you first see us at the opening of the movie with the flare. And that was it. That was the only thing I had to agree to. And he said, that's going to require you getting lowered out of a helicopter at about 4,500 feet. Because there's no place for the helicopter to land. And I said, oh gosh, I don't know. I really want to do this movie, but I don't know about that. And he said, well, think about it. And if you want to talk to our stunt coordinator, you can call him. So I called him, and he assured me that it would be safe and that we would practice and that. It turns out that we didn't do that shot, which is the opening shot of the movie, until last. And we were there, like I said, I was booked for 2 weeks, but because of the exposure of the place, we couldn't go. The whole location was helicopter access. There was one location where the helicopter could land, And we would have to evacuate almost every day because if it got too windy, they couldn't leave, and we'd be stuck up there for the night, which was very dangerous. So we just had so much time sitting around and waiting for the weather to clear and waiting for this. That 1 week turned into 2, turned into 3, and the whole time I was working with the stunt guys, they were saying, here, just try putting on the harness and going out on the wire. And they first put me out on the wire, which was the wire that you see in the movie, in a cage with these other 2 stunt guys. And I said, well, what exactly is it going to do for me having you in the cage with me when it falls? Hold my hand, or you? And then it did make me feel a lot more secure. But exactly, brother. It'll be faster done. But I just agreed because I really like these guys. By that time, we were all friends, and he said, come on out on the wire. And by the time we actually shot that scene, I was so comfortable out on the wire that we used to pull ourselves out on the wire in the little harnesses to watch other scenes being shot. Like the scene where the bridge blows up. That was all shot on that location. We pulled ourselves out there and sat out there for the afternoon while they were watching it. So after a while, you just get acclimated to the height. And I mean, some people could. I must say, some people couldn't, but I could. But it was very, very far down.
Let me ask you, you don't have a problem with cyclones and all that?
Cyclone?
Yeah.
I've never had any experience with cyclone.
You've never been on one?
Oh, the cyclone, the ride.
The ride, yeah.
There's going to be a relevance to this question, but I don't know what it is.
No. I'm afraid of dying. When I go down, I think I'm going to die. Oh, I was in the one in Coney Island. Has anyone ever been in the one in Coney Island? That one is high and it goes straight down like this. And you think that you're going to die.
I love roller coasters.
Oh, there you go.
That's a great one.
The only time, have you ever been scared for your life while you're shooting something?
Yeah.
Okay. Do tell.
Oh,
Next question.
Yeah, but not in a I'm gonna fall and die kind of thing. I've never been beat up before. I never have. And I was working with an actor named Wings Hauser, and we were doing this battered wife scene, and he threw me up. I'd never experienced this before. He threw me up against this wall and ripped my shirt, and I had gashes across the front of me, and I was scared for my life at that point because
it didn't sound like he was acting.
No, well, because some actors are method actors, and he was real method, So I really thought I was gonna.
And they're very happily married now.
We have 4 daughters. No. But.
I was going to say, you do have to be careful of that. I just did a movie, I don't know if you guys know Dwight Yoakam, he's a country western singer. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's starting an acting career now. And I just did a movie with him where I have the leading lady role opposite him. It's called Half a Dog's Life. And we shot it down in Texas a few months ago. And there was one scene where I'm really, really pissed at him. And he's sitting across a doorway and I want to leave. And he's sitting with his boot put up. He plays a cowboy. And I was saying to the director, I said, well, we were discussing the various ways I could leave. I said, the director said, you could just step over him. And I said, yeah, but I could just kick his foot out of the way because I'm mad. And he said, okay, you want to try that? And we were doing the scene, and I kicked him. And without even thinking that, oh my God, that's going to hurt Dwight, I wasn't thinking in terms of actor, I was thinking in terms of character, And I kicked him really hard, and I've never done that before. And he stopped, and he said, ouch. Oh my God, and they said, cut. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And I can see how that happens. Yeah. You have to be really, luckily, we shot after that a scene where I saw him across the face, and he was really nervous. Just right before they said, actually, said, we're just acting. I promise I won't really hit you.
I was scared once when I played Oswald in Ruby. We shot on a Sunday. We shot the scene in Dealey Plaza in the book depository, and it was like we were going to do it on Sunday because then maybe it wouldn't be so busy downtown Dallas, which was like a total mistake. So they're shooting me up in the window with a rifle, and there's like 5,000 people standing in Dealey Plaza watching us shoot, and I'm like, everyone in Dallas was so obsessed with the assassination anyway. I'm like, now they have a chance. I was sure at any moment, like I was going to hear a gunshot. I was positive. I was in the window, and I kept on like ducking behind. Oh,
That's funny, because you never know. Someone could just be deranged enough to think that you were actually there.
The
They
things
just
people
can't
would come up
tell.
to me on the street. You know, we were there for 3 months. They come up and say things like, it's like they finally have a chance to speak to Oswald.
Yeah.
And God, it was weird.
I think that doing things with guns is scary. Anytime I've had to shoot a scene with a gun, especially since that actor got killed last year, Brandon Lee, in The Crow, because I've had guns shot at me and different things with blanks, just like he was. And you know, obviously, nothing's ever happened. But when that happened, it made me I would think twice about it again. And there are certain movies, of course, guns are so predominant, which bothers me anyway in movies today. But it seems like it's hard to do a movie that doesn't have a gun in it somewhere, you know. And I've read some scripts that they wanted me to audition for, and I've just said no. I don't want to be around that atmosphere with all these guns and gunfights for 3 months. You know, it's just not worth it to me.
Okay, this is addressed to all of you on the panel. I really like to hear opinions of shows that I've watched and I really liked. I was curious if any of you had seen The Final Quantum Leap and what did you think of it?
I remember when it was going off the air, and I was so sad when I heard it was going off the air, and I really wanted to see it. And I was on location outside of the country, and I had wanted to remember to have someone tape it or something, but I know you can see it. Yeah, right.
I'm sure we can get a tape here. It was my understanding he never comes back. The choice was his, and he decides, or something to that effect. And I thought, well, if they were going to end it, I wish they'd ended it. But on the other hand, maybe it'll come back.
It keeps it open.
It keeps it open. It should be really good. It should be really good.
I also understand as an actor, I mean, I think sometimes people watching the show don't really understand what it takes. And I can understand someone like Scott, and I don't know whose choice it was to end the show, but I can understand someone needing a break.
It's Brandon Tyler. No, it's a Warren Littlefield. They all love Warren Littlefield.
But I mean, I can understand it's such hard work, and I can understand needing a break from it, but I hope it does come back. It would be terrific if it did.
Looking forward to seeing his the Clive Barker movie. I think it's going to be great. There's a pilot called Prophet that he's working on that's supposed to be unreal, I'm told. Keep your eye out for that. He may tell you tomorrow, I don't know. Prowler.
Belisario has a pilot, too.
Yeah, he's working on right now. He's actually shooting Jag. Yeah.
And he was cool. I called him up. I heard he was doing a pilot. And I called him up, and I thought, you know, I'll just leave a message. Like that Willie Garson sniffing around. And the secretary goes, oh, hold on. And she comes back on the phone. She goes, I'm patching you through to Don's car. Oh, man. I didn't really want to talk to him. So, he was really nice. And I said, listen, I just like work. I really do enjoy his company. I like working with him. And he goes, I got nothing for you. but it was absolutely great talking to you. That's why it was easy for him to pick up the phone so quickly, because he knew it
I did read books about it.
I did too.
Yeah, but I didn't get it, obviously. You know, I would tell you.
Me neither. That's okay.
Is this for Willie Garson?
Uh-huh.
I wanted to know where you filmed Lee Harvey Oswald. Was it on location or was it in?
It was there was stuff outside that was somewhere. I'm guessing it was up in that towards Magic Mountain area. And then we did some of it, we did one scene inside, which was the shooting of the rifle scene. Dean is like trying to stop me. That was inside at Universal. And then the Blue Room was, I think, on stage at Universal, was the Blue Room. but we didn't go like away on location or anything for that.
You're not on.
No.
Here's this one works.
Got it.
So I'd like to thank all of our guest stars this afternoon for coming along and just allow them a few minutes to just wrap up. But we have no more time for questions at this time. But we'll just let them finish off.
And talking with you, and hopefully you'll be seeing more of us in different areas. If you want to know what to look out for us, we can tell you what we have coming up. I'm going to be in a movie that opens next month with Dustin Hoffman called Outbreak.
Oh yeah,
about a killer virus that takes over this small town. And one quick story from that movie was they started that movie without a script, basically, because there was a race with another movie with Robert Redford of the same storyline, basically, called Crisis in the Hot Zone. And so it was kind of a race to see who would get done first. And so we started without really knowing what we were going to shoot. So we get new pages every day. And in some scripts I would get, I would have like the lead suddenly, from this small part. And then we'd get a new writer who would come up and he'd rewrite the script and I'd be out of the movie completely. So it was kind of a roller coaster. I never knew how big a part I was going to live, was going to die. Sometimes I died, sometimes I lived. And so I ended up shooting a fairly nice size role. My big scene was supposed to be with Dustin Hoffman. In a number of scripts it was, and then the final script it wasn't. It was with another actor. But it was still a nice scene, so I thought, that's okay. I mean, I would like to be with Dustin, but... So we shot my big scene. I have a number of small scenes, shot my big scene, and it was just great. I saw the dailies. I was so pleased and really happy it was over because it was very difficult. I'm dying. My children are taken away from me and all this stuff. So you're always relieved when you finish a scene like that because it's very hard. And so I get a call a couple weeks later. They fired the actor who I did that scene with because it turns out because we're getting new pages every day, he can't remember his lines that fast. And that's not his fault. It's just a skill that some people have and some people don't. Normally you have a few weeks when you're doing a movie to remember your lines. So they let him go and they recast him with Donald Sutherland. So great, I'll be doing my scene with Donald Sutherland. They said, no, we can't reshoot it because we were at a different location and we can't go back there and it would be too much to, so that scene is now cut. And I know, which is very disappointing, but I'm still going to be in the movie. It's just not as big a part as it was going to be.
Well, we'll think of that.
Yeah, that's right, you'll recognize me. I'm the sick one. And the other thing that I do with Dwight Yoakam is called Half a Dog's Life, and I'm not sure that that's the title they're going to use, and it should be coming out in the spring. And that's an independent movie, so it's going to have, it probably won't have a big, blowout release. It'll probably be kind of a small release, but hopefully it'll be seen. And it's independent, it's not a studio. The Outbreak one is Warner Brothers.
Well, I'll be on an episode of Sister Sister. I'm told it's going to air in March, and I don't have a date yet. Yay!
Actually, all the stuff I've done is just aired. The Walker aired on New Year's, and last weekend the Running Dragon aired that I just did for Stu Siegel. I just wanted to say, I think it's wonderful that you all come out and support this really incredible show. I think the show was a sort of a landmark and really helped boost the quality of television, put it on a new level. And I think it's wonderful that you all come out and support this, and I hope you'll continue to do that, and maybe we can continue to make good quality television that we can be proud to show you and show your children.
In light of that, I can be seen on more Pigsty. My next movie coming out is called The Ties That Bind with Daryl Hannah and Keith Carradine and Vincent Spano and Warner Kelly and me. It's kind of creepy. And then the big movie I have coming is called Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, with Andy Garcia and Chris Walken. And it's going to open the Cannes Film Festival, and then it will be here for all of us to go see many times. Thank you so much.
Let me stop you. I'm just getting carried away here.